Hi, everybody. I am here with David Dalton. David Dalton has over 10 years of workforce development experience. He spent the majority of his career supporting and connecting individuals faced with barriers to in-demand middle skill occupations. As the Director of Workforce Development for the Indiana Department of Transportation, he's building programs that align with the skills necessary for individuals to find meaningful employment in skilled positions within highway construction and maintenance. Prior to working for the Indiana Department of Transportation, he was the work-based learner for Goodwill of Central and Southern Indiana, where he developed customized internships to meet employer demand. He currently serves as Vice President of the Indy Humane Young Professionals Affinity Group and is a member of the Talent Attraction and Place Committee of Indiana Talent Networks. He is a graduate of IUPUI and is currently pursuing his master's degree in leadership and management. Welcome, David, to our first ever Candid Career Chats.
Thank you for having me, Brandy. I appreciate it.
No problem. So we will start, and I had given you a series of some questions, but really the first thing that I want to ask is, can you tell us one word, and in one word describe how you're feeling at this moment?
I would say hopeful. I think that's how I feel. I know there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but I think if we continue to do what we're doing and are aware and conscious that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So I feel hopeful, and that's the word that best describes how I feel right now.
I appreciate that answer. So can you walk us through your career journey from where you thought you wanted to be when you were growing up to where you are in this current position with INDOT?
Sure. So, when I was an adolescent, I probably thought that I would also be a basketball player as a Hoosier, but granted, I am not that tall. So while I still enjoy playing sports and basketball, I soon realized that I have some other skills that I was more in tune with. So I would say what I thought initially when I was in high school and what I focused on a lot was writing. I was in our newspaper room, and I was the editor of our high school newspaper. And so that kind of translated once I started college. And I soon decided that I was going to major in English and language arts, and with a focus on creative writing. And so all throughout college, I spent time just writing, honestly, taking every single writing, business writing, technical writing, anything that I felt was building that skill set. And once I started to get closer to graduation, I was looking at the demand of, where I could potentially go. And there was a couple different options. And I think as a language arts major and a liberal arts, it's a very open-ended. There's a lot of different places that you can go. And so I soon found out once I graduated that there were limited options as just strictly writing. There was a little bit of marketing that I could do, and I like doing that, but I found myself really gravitating toward nonprofit work. And I started looking at positions that would allow me to help people. And I didn't know exactly what that meant at the time. But I started out, my first real position out of college was working for Noble of Indiana, which is a great organization that focuses on supporting and helping people with both physical and developmental disabilities. And so I was an employment coach there. And so that really kind of started to put me on a journey that was really dedicated on building relationships and empowering people that may have some sort of barrier. And so I did that for about 5 years, 5.5 years. And then I then transitioned to Goodwill of Central and Southern Indiana, and started working with the population that they serve there, and really started to find a rhythm within workforce development and what that meant to me, and how I could build relationships with employers across the Goodwill's geographic footprint, and tie that with some of the certifications and trainings that the program participants and high school students are earning. So um, you know, it just kind of happened organically, I would say. And then from there, you know, I mean, I think, um, you know, I found a real passion within that space, and that's kind of led me to where I was. So I had one idea um, uh, going into school, and then once I transitioned out, I would say I found myself enjoying that kind of work and really building my skill set there.
Can you tell a little bit about what you do at INDOT?
Sure. Yeah. So the position I am in now as workforce development director, it really didn't, excuse me, didn't exist until I entered this role. And so a lot of it was really trying to figure out what it is that I needed to do in order to build some programs and build relationships and make the work that NDOT is doing a little bit more visible in our high schools and in some of our community colleges. So um, one of the things that I'm really focused on is pre-employment skills training. So there are construction programs that offer um, different certifications, but specifically I was looking at a credential for highway construction and maintenance. And so the idea is to take that kind of curriculum and program and bring it into a high school classroom, or even into a nonprofit where there's adult learners that can have access to some accelerated curriculum. And then from there, with that, trying to build work-based learning experiences within our agency where somebody could take that training and then pair it with some hands-on experience where they could continue to grow their skill set and confidence within our agency and within skilled positions. And you could look at highway maintenance or laborers or heavy equipment operators. So really it's just focusing in on skilled trades and how to get people and tap into different talent pipelines while increasing diversity within these roles.
Nice. What advice would you give to your college self? If you could go back, and however long ago that was, I will never ask anybody how long ago that was.
Appreciate that.
How, like, if you could go back and you could tell yourself and like give yourself a pep talk, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think what I would probably tell myself is that to breathe a little. You know, I mean, I think we have a tendency when we're in school and especially when we're getting toward the end, there's a lot of pressure, and you know, it's okay to not know what you want to do. I mean, it's good to have an understanding, but you don't have to have all the answers. And there are people in place, your academic counselors, your career coaches, that you can look to, and I would say rely on them. You know, ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out. And I would tell myself I would have probably done that more. I didn't do it as, I'll be honest, I didn't do it as much as I probably should have at the time. But having been in this kind of industry for as long as I have now, the work that your life coaches and academic and career coaches are doing is integral, and they're there to help. And I would also have told myself, if there was an internship that existed in that particular field, to go into it, give it a shot, because work and learn experiences are invaluable, and the relationships that you build and the skills that you gain in those are going to take you very, very far.
So I think we can end there basically, because you just promoted my my job
Perfect.
in what I do, and it was just absolutely perfect. So thank you for that commercial within this little.
Always happy to give a plug.
I know, that's so fantastic. What do you wish you would have known when you were starting to career plan and prep? And it's kind of similar to what was asked before. So what would you maybe do differently aside from reaching out and maybe doing an internship?
Sure. I think a couple things to just be prepared for is making sure that I would have had a resume ready to go upon graduation. It took me a while to figure out what best suited my resume at the time. So, and what skills to even put on it, right? So, whether it's volunteerism or internships. So, I didn't really know exactly what went on it at the time. And now, reflecting on it, I think having that ready to go, understanding how to write a cover letter effectively, making sure it's tailored to the specific employer and why you want to work for that employer. What draws you to them would be very important. And I wish I would have been a little bit more focused on that. And along those lines, as a person that graduated with a liberal arts and writing degree, knowing when to not write as much in a cover letter. So keeping it short and sweet as opposed to a novel. And then, finally, and this may go to another question as well, but, seek out mentors. Having a mentor that isn't maybe in your day-to-day network, but somebody that you can rely on, ask questions to. I think that's incredibly valuable to have somebody that you can go to as a mentor.
I do as well. Mentoring is so important to your career development and I think your overall just personal development. And then when you get to that point where you are doing some of the things you're doing, and don't forget to be a mentor
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a two-way street. And
Mhm.
I think the guidance that you can be given, you can also give, and people need it, and I think oftentimes people can be shy or be reluctant to reach out, but I can guarantee you that if you asked someone if they wanted to be your mentor or wanted to even go get a coffee with them, they'd be more than willing, and I think that's what people want to do. It's just sometimes it's difficult to approach those conversations or even how to start them.
Mm-hmm. Great advice so far. If students could do one thing to benefit their career now, so if they're freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, adult learner, coming back into the workforce, what is one thing that they could do now that will benefit their career?
It's a great question. I think the best thing that they could do is try. Put yourself out there. Start researching jobs now. Start figuring out what employers are hiring, what they're hiring for, what organizations that you would like to know more about, and start looking ahead, planning ahead, and thinking about that. I think that would be something that could really jumpstart your career. When you graduate, you're going to have time to figure some things out, but it's always good to hit the ground running and to have a plan and place to strategize on what it is that you want to do and how you want to get there. And I think the sky's the limit. So if you see a job posting that may not fit what you want to do right now, keep it in the back of your mind and continue to work toward that goal. And, just because it says you need 5 years of experience, it doesn't hurt to apply. Give it a shot, write a cover letter, go for it. The worst that can happen is that they say, no, thank you right now.
I love that. The fifth question that I have for you today is, are there any networking or job search strategies that you have used aside from writing cover letters and those types of things? Any other kind of job search strategies or networking strategies that you would tell students or adult learners?
Sure. I would say, obviously, right now, a lot of things are virtual based, which can make those in-person meetings a little difficult at times. But I would propose that use your own network or leverage networks. So relationship building is huge. So anytime that there's somebody that I've always wanted or that I've wanted to reach out to, schedule time, schedule a coffee, and you can do it virtually now. I mean, get to know somebody, and then you never know who else is in someone else's network. So I think I also believe LinkedIn has value as well. So that's another resource that I use to connect with people. It's a way to message someone, and then you build that network. And I think that is just a strategy. Don't ever turn an opportunity down to have a conversation, even if it's not applicable today. You may not know what that brings tomorrow. So the more you can expand your own personal network, it can take you to a lot of places. And then oftentimes, things have a tendency to come full circle. And even in my position now, I'm meeting with people that I've spoke with years ago, and that connection is still strong, and there's different ways to partner together. And I would just suggest that you, obviously having a resume, cover letter, all those things, but really focus on building a network of people, regardless if you think it's going to have an impact today or tomorrow.
Lastly, I'm not sure if I actually sent this to you or if I meant it to not send out to my people, and kind of catch you off guard and see how you react and how you think on your feet.
Sure.
What is the toughest interview question you've ever gotten?
Oh gosh. I think there's a couple that stand out, but I honestly have to go back even to this day. I still get incredibly nervous during interviews. I've only been in this position right now for about a year, and I can remember that interview process like it was yesterday. And it's always that first icebreaker of, tell me about yourself. It really is. I can answer behavioral-based questions all day long and pull from scenarios and all that, but that first kind of get to know you question, and and knowing when to stop, right? That's always a trick. You don't want to say too much and you don't want to say too little. So I think for me, that's still every time that gets me. And thankfully I've been able to learn how to navigate that question a little bit better. And I think that one kind of stands out for me still to this day.
That's impressive. Because I thought about this question when I was writing that, and I was like, what is the hardest question I've ever gotten? And then I said to myself, it has to be, tell me about yourself. Like it has to be that question. I think my younger self probably butchered that question so many times in so many interviews.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are times where, I probably overshared. For sure.
Oh, definitely. And not knowing how to format the answer to that, and just other things that I've heard people say as well in interviews. And I know myself, especially a younger version of me who was much more introverted, and I probably said one thing, one sentence,
one word, right?
Hardworking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, so to this day, I think
I'm glad other people still think that question is
terrible. Yeah, I thought about that. And I think that one stands out even more so than why should I hire you? I do. So, thank you for that question, though. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I thought so too. I like to throw in some fun stuff, and so the question time has come to an end, and we appreciate you being here with us, being candid with us, helping myself also, and whomever else is viewing this, giving some insight into some of the things that you've done and your advice. It's all been absolutely fantastic. And so I thank you, and we thank you, and hopefully we can continue to work together in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been an absolute joy, and I look forward to hopefully having a chance to do it again in the future. Thank you.